You Wagun people, HR the messenger here, aka High Renaissance. Man, let me tell you all a story. So what happened, we scheduled a shoot for a song that the homie had featured me, Danny Talks. It was his song. He featured me, and then he wanted the nighttime scene. So this is time, like the Kafue was already on set, on lockdown at 7 p.m. exactly, all over Kenya. So what happened, I secured the location. So we left the studio at around 6:30, 6:40. Got there around a few minutes to 7. So while we were getting into the state, we found some watchmen there, and they were like talking in the native language in Maasai, and they were like, yo, where you guys going? Where you guys going? So we were like, yo, just follow us. We'll show you. When we get there, you can talk to the people there and, just confirm that we're not a bunch of hooligans or criminals or up to some other shit. So, man, them niggas didn't even listen. So it was alright. So we get into the house. We start setting up the thing. Now, mind you, we had like lights and like a bunch of stands to harness. Like if you've seen the video, there's this backdrop which has like, it's just a lot. So it took us approximately an hour and a half or 2 hours to just set it up. So after we set it up, it's around 9 p.m. So when the camera is about to get rolling, we hear like, yo, the cops are here, 5 hours in the building. So it's like, yo, what the fuck do they want? So we open for them, they come in. So apparently the watchman had contacted the area chairman, and he called the cops, and the narrative was there's a party going on by a bunch of like 10 young niggas. So it's like, yo, what? So, and everyone was there. We had Cray, we had Danny Talks, we had Cubic, we had Arnold, Mike, Miss Ruby was there, and she came through with the uncut merchandise drip for the video. So they come in and they're expecting like liquor and weed and all type of shit going on, but they found like cameras and lights. So I guess it was their ego. So they harassed us for like a few hours to be honest. So eventually, there's a good cop, bad cop game. Eventually, like we all know, they wanted some money. So after we had agreed on that, this area chairman gets into the house. So the cops go call him, and they tell us let's just go call him here. So he confirms that nothing is going on. This guy walks in, and then the energy shifts. So he's like, and I try talking to him like in respectfully, but I can just tell like he's looking at my hair, he's looking at my dreadlocks, and he's like, yo, take 2 steps back, don't come close to me. And he's like, yo, we finna call the Ministry of Health. Y'all niggas need to go for quarantine. It's like, man, we're just some young niggas trying to shoot a video to better, our current standards or whatever. So it's like, yo. So this goes on for like 4 or 5 hours. And the police, me and them, are harassing us, like talking to us, saying some type of shit. They're like, pack your shit up. Y'all niggas going inside, you're going to jail. You need a let. And like they were saying some unnecessary shit, which we knew was false. But if you try explaining yourself, then they get more angry. The situation worsens. So after 4 or 5 hours, we were all in the back of a cop car, headed to the station. So long story short, we get there, write our names, boom, bam, 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 boom, bam, boom. They harass us for a few minutes, we gather whatever change we have, we collect, we give it to them. They left us for like an hour again, just outside the station, and like they're inside and nothing is going on. So we wait. Then we get back to the cop car, and they bring us back to the spot. And they're like, yeah, drink some coffee and do what you were doing. So we go back to setting up the whole thing. And it's about like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock there. So by the time we finish setting it up, we were finishing the video at 6 in the morning, 6, 7. So it was crazy, man. But to think that his cops pulled up on us in like a cop car, and they were talking and sending all types of threats, and they were like armored up, guns and all that shit. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. And especially with shit going on right now with police brutality in the world and all that, man. I want to say fuck the popo, but you know, it is what it is. Peace.
All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is...
What up, what up? Thank you so much for checking out yet another episode of the Kingship Podcast. This is a pop-up, and as you can tell already, we are starting off on a very, very low note. We're going to be discussing police brutality and racial profiling on this podcast. But before we get into it, here's yet another voice note from one person who has encountered racial profiling. She's a rapper called Bananas, who's based in the Middle East, and here's what she has to say.
So anyways, I hope you're doing well. Number one. Number two is, this is a very interesting question. I don't know if you know, but I grew up in the Middle East, so racial profiling is a norm up there. It was basically a normal thing that any foreigner, any black person, a black woman even worse, you know, like I don't even know if I want to get into this because it's just too fucking complicated, but the Middle East is just so fucking shitty, especially for black people. So my experience has been fucking hell, but yeah, I survived. Told you I'm a survivor.
All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free.
You know how police in Kenya usually have this stereotype about people with dreadlocks? Yes, one person who did experience harassment in the hands of police because of his hair is none other than Musau, ADF president and manager. He tells his experience.
The cops. Well, as usual, you know how they be when they see someone with dreadlocks, and I used to have dreadlocks at that time. So basically I was walking around in town, then this guy just stopped me for no reason, literally. And they were like, Abu simama hapa kijana. I'm like, yeah, cool. But they're like, Abu kuja, Abu, empty your pockets. I'm like, sawa. So I empty my pockets, there's nothing. They're like, I don't know, just because I'm check socks. I'm like, come on, man. So yeah, they make me check my shoes in town. I even check my socks. Now I'm barefoot. Atindo angalika niko na joint kwa socks, manze. So I was like, you guys, like, to be honest, you just can't see someone with dreads and think, I'll say, wanatembeanga na kush kila mahali. Ilikuwa so pissed off, man. And then they still wanted me to give them cash. And I was like, are you guys mad? I just started causing a tantrums and then I dipped.
All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free.
Somebody else who has experienced police harassment, and this one came as a shocker to me, is Kevin Granz. Anybody who knows Kevin Granz knows he's the most law-abiding citizen ever. Like, he doesn't do anything illegal. He narrates his experience.
I have had a couple of run-ins with the police, but I think the most notable for me is sometime around 2016 or early 2017. Myself and Shukid and two of our friends were coming from a show. We had a show in town. So it was late, we were going back home after the show, and just after we got off the matatu and we were walking to the house, a cop car pulls up and they stopped us and they questioned us as to, where we were coming from, where we were going, and we were polite. We told them we came from town and we were going home. And after they listened to all that, they just told us to hop in the cop car. We drove around probably for like an hour or so as they picked up more people, and we all ended up being locked up in a cell for the night, and they claimed that we were being drunk and disorderly.
All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free.
Oh, you thought we were finished? Nah. We're just getting started. Another person who has had a run-in with the cops is none other than super photographer and video director, filmmaker Subbu. Here's his experience while he was in class 7. That's like 12, 13 years old. Have a listen to this.
Yeah, so my first brush with the law, I was in class 7. I was in Umoja Primary School, and we used to go play PlayStation in Buruburu, which was like the opposite estate. But now the route to Buruburu was kind of long because we had to go through Mtindo Market and go around till you get to Mesora, where you used to play the PlayStation. But there was a shorter route, which you were forced to like pass through the police station, but there was no through way, so you used like to sneak through the fence into the police station and then outside through the main gate, then cross the road onto Mesora supermarket, Mesora mall, shopping mall. So this one day we crossed the fence and went through the police station as usual, then played PlayStation, and when we were done, on our way back, it's like the cops had seen us when we were going the first time. So when we went back, the cops they laid a trap for us. We were like 4 kids, I remember, all young, like roughly 11, 12 years old. Yeah, so they laid a trap. So when we were just about to cross the fence, like they caught us and took us to the police station. So there, they wrote down our names. We were whipped, we were slapped. Then I think they were threatening us, we will spend the night there, and it was at 6 p.m. So me, I've always been an actor. I had started acting I was crying, started pretending that I had this severe diarrhea or something. So that's when they let us go. Yeah, but that was the first time in the law. First of very, very, very many to come.
All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free.
Yet another person who's had an experience with the police is Shoe Kid. He narrates his experience.
Yeah, so I had this one situation where I was in Thika for a video shoot. I was supporting some homies of mine, and I don't know what happened, but cops apparently got called to the scenario. So where I was at, we weren't doing nothing. Actually, we were on our way out. I was inside of the vehicle. I see some people getting harassed outside of the vehicle. Usually, I always ask cops questions. I'm like, yo, what's going on, sir? What have we done? That kind of situation. So I asked these cops what we've done. They didn't really have an answer for us. So they went ballistic. They started whooping us. They cuffed us. It was raining. They whooped us all the way to the station. That was in Thika. They lied to my brother that had I don't know how many keys of marijuana, and so we had to try and find a way to get bailed out. And that's just one situation. It's been plenty more.
All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free.
Here's yet another battle rapper, Kafue, aka the tall rap midget, narrates his experience growing up in the hood and encountering the police.
Growing up, I have always been on the wrong side of rules. Maze, it's a rebellious nature maybe that came as a result of the environment I was brought up in, which is Soweto, Kibera, or maybe I was just tired of the system entirely since childhood because of all the injustices, especially the youths faced. My first really scary encounter with cops was in college, back in Moranga. So we had come from Abashi hivi, and yeah, of course we were in the wrong, and the cops just came and stacked us, Komariamu, and the whole night we were just making patrols with them. I think they were trying to teach us a lesson. Luckily, there was a head of department from that college who called, and the matter was resolved, and we went back to our hostels. Yeah, so the thing about cops is you never know what to expect most scenarios are majorly just out of place, and this is where we have to draw the line, I guess, because my latest encounter was not a pleasant one, because my bro's wife was expectant, so me and my girl wanted to help out with everything, maybe registration before she was taken to maternity. So the cab we requested was an Excel due to the government regulations set to fight the pandemic, and we were literally coming from one household. The cab came and it was a Sienta, which I think usually has room for even 7 people. So in the middle of an emergency, we need to go to hospital ASAP. The cab is here, we have masks and sanitizers in our pockets, but one unfortunate thing is that the cab did not have an extra seat at the back, because they are usually like 3 rows or something. So the driver told us it was no big deal, and we will not be harassed since it was a short distance we were driving. And well, this is just one of those days where everything is just fucked up, and so I'm there sitting in the middle of the back seat, not observing social distancing, yes, but this being my farm and everything, I didn't really think it's an issue. The cop kept saying he doesn't even have an issue with the rest of the people, but me, because I was the only one making it impossible for social distancing. Well, no one wanted to argue, we just needed them to do whatever now, because we were grounded totally, and reasoning with them was just not going to happen. The driver was asked for his license, he was rushed out of the car, a flurry of words were thrown, exchanged. Well, eventually they let us go after a couple of minutes. I was so furious about the incident, because our forces cannot be reasoned with even in an emergency situation. That was sad for me to see. Anyway, catch all my frustrations in the new EP I'm dropping this month. Mambo kavu.
All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off it. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free.
The year is 2020. What a time to be alive, right? When Drake first sang this, he was singing on a very happy note, but unfortunately, I say that with sadness and a lot of anger and a lot of frustration as well. Now, 2020 has been crazy so far. The coronavirus has shut down the whole world, and now following in their footsteps, we got the 5-0, the police, the men in blue, people who are meant to serve and protect. Now, earlier on in the week, there was a clip that that surfaced online of a white cop kneeling on a black man named George Floyd. His crime was apparently he gave some store owner a counterfeit $20 bill. Did this crime warrant or justify his death? Absolutely the fuck not. Now, the whole world was up in arms, and there's been riots all over the world with people demanding justice, not only for George Floyd, but also calling out their own governments or their own systems for some of the fuck shit they do. Now, as the whole world speaks about George Floyd or whatever is happening in America, let's not forget about what's happening right here in the 254. Samuel Maina, he got beaten up because he was out past curfew. His belongings were taken, his nose was broken, and there's been a bloody picture of him online. If you are keen enough, you've seen that. Yasin Hussein, a 13-year-old who will never ever get to his highest potential because he was shot. He was caught by a stray bullet while he was playing on the balcony of his house with his siblings a few minutes after curfew. Vaite, a homeless man in Matare who was shot again because the cops were quote-unquote trying to impose the curfew. He was out past curfew. Remember their names. And these are just some of the incidences that have happened here in the 254. Someone said that how police treat people in America, how police treat black people in America is the same way that they treat poor people, or people that they consider helpless, people that they consider ignorant, who have no idea of their rights right here in the 254, right here in Kenya. Now, I've had a few run-ins with the cops, and I don't think I've ever been in a situation where they've been helpful, that's the irony of the whole statement, to serve and protect. Never ever have I ever been in a situation with cops where I'm like, alright, thank you for doing your work. They never ever do that. It's like what they instead try to do is inflict pain and impose their power on you. Police brutality is not new, but surely this needs to stop. This really needs to stop. We need to stop being activists on social media and being angry on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Stop tweeting and actually do something about this. And how do we do that? The first thing is to learn our rights. Before you even exercise your right, do you know what they are in the first place? Do you know what you're supposed to do? Do you know where you're supposed to be? Do you know what needs to happen in a scenario that you're caught up with the law? And first things first, I need to say this. Our war is not with the 5-0. Our war is not with the cops, but it's definitely with the lawmakers, the people who are up there. When the riots started in America, Trump tweeted, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." And I can't help but liken this statement too. When the police spokesperson right here in Kenya was speaking about the killings or what has been happening, you know what he said? He said that the president understood. He understood what was happening on the ground, that the cops are there to do their job, but at the same time, his voters were acting out of line. So if the guy at the very top does not give a fuck about what is happening on the ground, you wouldn't expect a police officer to care or to help you exercise your rights, okay? We need to learn that there's power in our vote. There's power in your vote as you listen to me right now. We should put people in power who advocate for our needs as the youth, who stand for our mission, who understand us. One of us who would be able to go out there and help us win this fight. Because at the end of the day, if the lawmakers remain the same, the situation on the ground, it's not going to change. It's not going to be any different. It's still gonna be the very same thing. And I'm sure as you listen to this podcast, you may have had a run-in with the cop, right? Maybe once or twice. Maybe they cuffed you, they put you in the back of a car, or they walked you all the way to the station trying to book you. And here's the thing. Every time you run into the cops, you know that they want money. Yeah? But if you know your rights, you know how to exercise them, you would handle the situation differently. Cops act with impunity because they know intimidation works. But did you know that it's your right to record an encounter with the cops so that if they act out of pocket, you've got evidence, you can take it to their supervisor or their superiors and be like, yo, my rights were stepped on, were infringed. What can we do? What disciplinary action can you take against this officer? But most times what happens when you try to film them, they will try to take your phone, they try to beat you, they try to what? Do you know before you even give a bribe, when a cop hits you, that's assault. Do you know what the right thing to do is? Do you know where to report this corruption? I've just got a report that people in Isli are being beaten because Isli has been put on quarantine, right? Has been put on isolation. There's no coming in or going out. But apparently what people are doing to come in and out of Isli is like you fold a small 50 bob note, which is like what? $0.5. You fold it and put it in your hand. So as you approach the blockage, when you're saying what's up to the cop, you give him the money and they allow you to pass. Now, what's even worse about this situation is I'm being told that they're not just normal cops. It's the GSU, and this is the first time for them to be outside and actually get this money. So they're doing whatever it is that they can to make sure that they impose this power on innocent people. Like, even beyond now worrying about the virus spreading, it's just like, yo, they're acting out of pocket. We need to release ourselves from mental slavery. Neocolonialism is a thing. And that's why we have things like xenophobia happening, black on black crimes, because we think that everything that is foreign is so much better than what is local, than what is happening at home. That is why a South African man will lift up his hand to kill a Nigerian man because he believes that they're taking their opportunity. But that's not the case. If you think about it objectively, the reason why China is winning is because they're capitalizing on this neocolonialism. They're out here building roads, owning buildings, securing land in African countries, and they haven't done that in Kenya alone. There's been protests about, why do we have a billboard in Chinese? Who are they trying to talk to? This is not their country. It's not just Kenya that's happening. It's happening in a lot of African countries. And now you see countries like the States and the UK, they have discovered this, and they're like, no, China, you cannot be doing this. We need to take time to educate ourselves. Learn whatever skill you believe will be beneficial to you in a few years, because let's be honest, the government is not impacting us positively as far as education is concerned. They're giving us a bullshit education so that we can remain enslaved, so that we can remain trapped, so that they can remain our oppressors. What is it about people in government owning media houses? You know for a fact that at the end of the day, these houses will filter information. They're never going to report what is happening on the ground as it is. And that is where, we hear reports of, people trying to sway the vote or trying to whatever, because they're feeding you information to make them look like they're in the right space. But that's not true. Wake up, Africa. Wake up, Kenya. Educate yourself. This is real life. These are some things that are happening on the ground that we need to address. Like I said, how the cops treat black people in America is the same way that they treat poor people in Kenya. And you might be sitting this in your posh house and you're like, nah, if something happened to somebody, it's because it was warranted, that they had it coming. Same way there's white privilege, there's rich privilege. And you should learn how to use your voice or your power for the betterment of the society. If you're not going to be around here forever, you're not going to be around here forever. So if you're not going to fight for yourself because you're good, fight for your children and the generations to come. Black lives matter. And this is a worldwide fight. We shouldn't just leave it to America. We shouldn't just put it on social media. This is something that affects us, and we should be vigilant, because if we don't speak up, we will also end up enslaved. This is the right time for the United States of Africa. It's been years since it was first suggested, and up until now it hasn't happened. Why is that? It's our prerogative as Africans, as black people, to use our voices, to use our power, our voting power, to fight our oppressors, to fight racism, and to fight police brutality. As I wrap up, all I'm gonna say is this: a man does not have to die for us to sing his name and demand justice for him. Think about that.
I will stand my ground. Don't just stand around. Don't just stand around. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is take the chains off.